friends, welcome back to At Home with Chic and Grace. I'm Kimberly. Today we are going to be making a door hanger that is part of my brand new honeybee collection. This little frame is part of my new scalloped frame collection, and the little 6-inch insert that you see here is part of this collection. So we'll just go over the supplies. I'm using Saman Colonial stain. It is a water-based stain. I'm using Fusion mineral paint and Casement, Champness, buttermilk cream, no, buttermilk yellow, and hazelnut. We are going to start by staining the um, backer of the door hanger with Colonial. I just use my makeup sponges and I rub it on. Um, Usually it goes on in a fairly even coat, but if you need, sometimes wiping it over with a baby wipe is a great idea to help even it out. Let it dry, give it a light sand and another coat if you wish. Okay, so we have all of our colors laid out. If you've watched any of my videos before, you know I like to use a makeup sponge to apply my paint. Just make sure you're offloading your paint so you're not getting lots on, because one, if we were going to see these score marks, your paint would go down in between if you have too much on. Plus, it gets down the edges of your wood pieces, and then you've got cleanup to do. So just offload, use a light touch, let it dry, sand it, go back over. You typically only need 2 coats. White, depending, you might need 3, sometimes 4 coats, just depending on the coverage you are looking for. So I've used Champness and Casement so far. I like to try to paint all the same colors at the same time. And here you will see that I forgot to pop out the little pieces for the honeybee because those pieces are going to be the yellow. So take a piece of tape, fold the ends under, and then tape it down, because then it this is sticky side up. Sorry, stumbling over my words here. But then it holds your pieces into place and you don't have to fumble around with little pieces. So now we are using the buttermilk yellow. I always think I'm saying it wrong. And I know that I called it hazelnut earlier, and it is hazelwood that we are going to be using for the bee. I like a soft color palette, so I have chosen um, to use a gray instead of black. You can choose what you like. So here I'm giving it a quick sanding, and there is 2 layers of paint on everything now, and I'm just peeling off the paint from the back and punching out the pieces. And I use a stylus if any pieces are stuck. Just be gentle so you don't break any of your wood. This is a fairly thick project, so you should be good. By thick project, I mean there's not a lot of delicate pieces. Until you start getting to those words, they can be a little bit more delicate. So I just like to kind of place everything out and see how it is going to look, make sure I'm not missing any pieces. And now we are going to start to dry brush. I am just using a really wide chip brush, like natural bristles, loading it up with casement, really offloading it on the side. And then I am just going to start dry brushing. I didn't do any other details, no floating, no comma strokes, no nothing on this piece. I really liked the simplicity, and dry brushing can add so much to your piece. If you get a little heavy like I did there, just use a Q-tip, wipe some of it back. Or if it's too heavy, go back in and dry brush with your base coat color. So The other thing is you can dry brush these pieces while they are in that wood template before you pop them all out. But sometimes I like to pull them out and dry brush them individually because then it hits the edges a little bit more. And that adds a little bit more dimension when you're not using comma strokes like liner work to highlight your piece. So that is why I have done it this way. If you find the pieces are a little flimsy, like when you get to the words, you could use that tape method and put them down on some tape to help hold them in place because you do have to be a little bit more gentle and really hold down your letters when you are dry brushing. Next, I'm actually going to show you what I mean by putting it in the template. Even if you've taken everything out, you can still put it in the template like I'm doing, and it helps you keep it into place. Okay, so now that we're all done dry brushing, it is time to get everything glued in place. I think I am using my either Titebond Quick and Thick or my Aileen's Tacky Glue. Either works just fine. I don't like one over the other. They both hold up great for me. So when you put your pieces on, I do use a fair bit of glue. If any does seep out, both of these dry clear, but I do like to clean them up with a Q-tip or a toothpick or something just to so that you don't have a lot of clear glue spots. Also, make sure you are lining your edges up nicely. You may choose to clamp these down as they dry. It doesn't take too long for them to dry. So, but if you have too much glue on them, they can shift. So clamping them is a great idea. So when you're gluing your pieces on, the score lines are inset a little bit, so you have a smidgen of wiggle room there, but I always like to just make sure, especially when I'm doing my letters, that I don't see my score lines and everything is glued on in place. He is looking so darling. So had an idea here that I was going to use this greenery. You'll see I changed my mind, but I am using this gingham ribbon I got at Michael's, and I'm going to make a raffia bow. I like to, yeah, just like that one. I like to tear my pieces of raffia apart because it makes for a fluffier bow. So just tie them all apart, pull them all apart, and then we will make a bow. So I was just testing it there to see if it was thick enough, and I felt like I needed a few more pieces. And then you're going to see me play around with this greenery here. I just thought I would dry place it in here to see if I liked it, and I wasn't liking the color. I think if it was a different color, it would have been okay, but I decided in the end to just go with the raffia and the gingham bow. So we'll put some jute in for the door hanger. Now this could go inside of a wreath, but I have just put mine on the signpost holder. So I'll show you some photos at the end of the whole collection and how I styled them up. So just use your hot glue gun and glue your raffia bow on. I trim these up a few times. I don't like to make them too short all at once. And then you'll see that I will scrunch them together with my hands sometimes, just like this, and it just makes them a little bit fluffier and gives them a little bit more movement. Sometimes I like to go back in and individually trim some a little bit shorter. And I know raffia can kind of be a little bit messy when you're doing this, but I actually keep all of those scraps because I use them in other projects like for fillers in a bird nest or whatever you may think of, but I don't like to get rid of any of it. Some of these pieces are just a little wild on the side, so I've got to play with them a little bit and trim them up some more. But now let's glue our gingham bow on. And then I'll trim up these tails. I do end up dovetailing them here. And then I will fuss with it a little bit more and make sure everything is to my liking. Thank you for joining me again, and I hope that you enjoyed this simple DIY, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.